Good morning, good morning, good morning. My name is Reverend Kylie Renner, and on behalf of One Spiritual Center, I just want to welcome you here to our second ever service here in this beautiful... So if you're feeling new, so are the rest of us. So we're just going to breathe into that this morning. And I just want to acknowledge real quickly this beautiful space that we're able to be in. We're at the National Dance Institute's. It's a local nonprofit that does amazing work. And if you're not familiar with it, their mission is to provide dance and movement for everyone, especially children, who wouldn't have access to resources to make that happen. And so we're, by being here, also supporting their mission and vision in our community. And I just want to bring that to our awareness, because I think sometimes we think we're doing one thing and forget that it's affecting everything. And so I believe in this space this morning that we have an opportunity to anchor deeply into a lot of different things, but one of them is just the fact that what we do, our own personal transformation, affects everything. When we are willing to get free, it means everyone gets free. When we are willing to be at peace, it means that there's an opportunity for peace everywhere. When we are willing to step into the love that we are, it can happen then everywhere. So I'm just honoring that in this space today as we open ourselves to this opportunity to be together in community and to create this new thing called One. So I have the deep honor and pleasure of introducing Don Bonney, who will be doing our invocation this morning.
Recognizing that the air we breathe comes from that one divine source, and it is available to each one of us. It does not choose sides. It does not decide who can breathe and who cannot. And just like the sunshine come together in this new community, we have an opportunity to be more of who we came here to be, to express those qualities of the divine, of deep wisdom and compassion, of unconditional love, of infinite prosperity and great abundance. And so I give thanks for all of that and for this philosophy, knowing that we truly are one with each other. I give thanks for the wisdom of Reverend Kylie, for the volunteers who make this space possible, for this amazing band, and for Glenn and the talent they bring to us. Just as words bring us together into oneness, so too does music. I mean, it truly comes from the divine. And so I give thanks knowing that it's just perfection itself. And as we say together, and so it is.
And so it is.
Amen.
Winter is the oldest season, quietly beneath the snow. seats are stretching out and reaching, faithful as the morning glow. Carry nothing but what you must, lean in toward the light. Let it go, shake off the dust, lean in toward the light. Today is now, tomorrow beckons, lean in towards the light. Keep practicing resurrection, lean in towards the light. The shadows of this world will say there's no hope, try anyway. But every kindness, large or slight, shifts the balance towards the light. Waters wind and open wide, lean in toward the light. Don't just walk when you can't fly, lean in toward the light. When justice seems in short supply, lean in towards the light. Let beauty be your truest guide, lean in towards the light. The shadows of this world will say no hope, why try anyway? But every kindness, large or slight, shifts the balance towards the light. Where I pray at evening tide, lean in towards the light. All left undone be put aside, lean in towards the light. Forgiveness is so hard to find, lean in towards the light. Help me at least to be kind, lean in towards the light. Lean in towards the light, lean in towards the light, lean in towards the light.
Today's reading is from Mark Nepo, and it's a poem titled Fighting the Instrument. Often the instruments of change are not kind or just. And the hardest openness of all might be to embrace the change while not wasting your heart fighting the instrument. The storm is not as important as the path it opens. The storm is not as important as the path it opens. The mistreatment in one life never as crucial as the cleaning it makes in your heart. This is very difficult to accept. The hammer or cruel one is always short-lived compared to the jewel in the center of the stone. In a meditation.
special music this morning. The amazing Glenn Custer is here. Glenn Custer.
I am delighted to be here with you this morning, and very exciting to be a part of this community, and I think it's fantastic that we have all come together here in this beautiful space, and I look forward to watching this community grow and develop and thrive, so please keep coming back. We're going to start with a tune of mine. I saw a quote a while back that said, "When you are blessed to have more than you need, you should build a longer table instead of a higher fence." And so this is, and I agree with that, and this is a piece called "A Longer Table," and it's one of the tunes that's on a new CD that I released a couple of months ago, and as fate would have it, speaking of tables, there's a table out in the lobby with some of those CDs, and I would be happy to share one of those with you after the service today. So here's "A Longer Table."
Very subtle. Thank you. That's Glenn Coster.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. So I have to first admit that I was so overwhelmed last week by the love in this room. I completely left my body. So I have no idea what I said or if it made any sense. So I actually feel like I am in the room right now, which feels really good. So thank you for holding space for me. So I've been through a lot of transformation in the last few months, and I came across a quote this week that really spoke to me. It's by Dr. Peggy Bassett, who is a legendary New Thought minister. And what she said is, sure you can be a butterfly, but first you have to let that caterpillar go. But first you have to do that. So I've been thinking a lot about that because there is something really powerful about the whole imagery around how a caterpillar becomes a butterfly. Because honestly, if you look at the process, it is not exactly one that I would think that I would say, yeah, sign me up for that. Because there's some point when that caterpillar decides to become a butterfly, that it goes into that cocoon, and it has to let go of everything. In fact, there is a point in there where it becomes goo. It's like not anything anymore, just goo. And there's something about that process where transformation happens and we become goo that isn't really attractive, right? Like I think we as human beings want some sort of transformational process that doesn't require us to goo, doesn't require us to let go quite that much. But what I also recognize about that resistance to that deep level of transformation is what ends up happening is that we continue to just make these incremental changes. And those are important. But I am interested in like the kind of freedom that turns us completely into something new. That transcends all of the limited ways that we have thought about ourselves and about life and really takes us somewhere different. And I don't think that really can happen incrementally. I think it has to happen through a willingness to re-look at everything. And transformation is really powerful, but it often is also difficult. And it is difficult because we come up against all of the ideas that we have about ourselves that we are unwilling to let go of. All of the ideas of who we are and what life is about. But those same ideas are the ones that have trapped us. And so here we are attached to the very things that are keeping us closed off and disconnected. So some of you know that there's this beautiful story that I love about a man who was wrongly accused of a crime, and he was put in prison, and his family friend visited him and gave him a prayer rug. And he was really angry at this guy who came and visited him and brought him a prayer rug because he had hoped that, he would bring him something that would help him get free. And he wanted, a hacksaw or a knife or something. And what he'd been given is a rug. But since he had it, he figured he should use it. He should just use the rug. And so he started to pray. And every day, he became more familiar with the patterns that were woven into that rug. And he started to see an interesting pattern there. And in fact, the more he studied it, he realized that it was a diagram of the lock that was going to allow him to open his cell and escape. And for me, this is a beautiful metaphor for the things that we think that are going to bring us freedom. We think it's going to be the knife or the hacksaw, when in fact it's this process where we have to look deeply at what's going on the inside. That prayer and that work actually is the thing that sets us free. But we have to be willing to do that, and then we have to be willing to do it in a way that allows for really new thoughts to come. So Salman Rushdie is a amazing author, and he wrote a book that was considered so blasphemous that there was a bounty put out on his head, and there were people trying to kill him for his writing. And right after that fatwa was issued, he said this. He had this amazing interview that he gave, and something he said really struck me. He said, "Those who do not have power over the story that dominates their lives, power to retell it, rethink it, deconstruct it, joke about it, and change it, truly are powerless. They're powerless because they cannot think new thoughts. They're powerless because they cannot think new thoughts." So our power comes from being able to think new thoughts, and we cannot do that process of getting to that place of a new thought if all we are doing is being stuck in what has been. And so often we don't even know that we're stuck, because that's just the story that we tell, and you can hear it in your brain. So I was actually doing some research this week, and there's a couple of different statistics, but they say that somewhere humans have between 45,000 and 70,000 thoughts a day. That's a lot of thoughts. Guess how much of a percentage of those are repetitive? The statistic, something around 95%. 95% of our thoughts in a given day are just repetitive. So I'm really interested in this idea about how about those 5%? And how do we cultivate a place where we're open to new thoughts, even though it's going to mean that we're going to be turned to mush? Even if it means that we're going to have to relook at everything we think about ourselves. Even if it's going to stretch us. Because it is in those 5% of thoughts that something new happens. And I know that we're all looking for that, but we have to be willing to approach it in a new way. So St. Teresa of Avila has this poem that she wrote. And she's talking about the fact that we all say, we want to do this new thing, but then what happens when we start along that path? And so she says this: "From a distance, all want to enter his house. Once near, watch out for the guard dogs, both four-legged and two. Some of them are crazy as hell." And to me, this spoke to exactly that which happens internally and externally when we start to think new thoughts. Because everything inside of ourselves that is guarding who we used to be shows up. And it shows up in these ways that make us question whether we're supposed to keep going. Anyone? Yes? And so there's this commitment that has to happen to our path where we're willing, especially in the midst of getting close to something new really breaking forward in our life, to be willing to step forward and to encounter those guard dogs and not let them turn us away. To not let them turn us away and not to let them start to tell us the story that we're going in the wrong direction. Because truly there is power in our willingness to approach our thinking and use the tool of our thoughts to create something new. And so I am interested deeply in this willingness to really focus on that which is going to set us free. Like completely free. Not like an incremental change that lets us be a little more free or a little more peaceful or a little more abundant than we were before, but like this kind of free that sets a whole nother course of action in our lives, that makes our old life seem like something we don't recognize anymore. And this is an internal process I'm talking about. I'm not even talking about needing to change anything on the outside. We have to be willing to create a space inside of us and then allow for that change to happen. But the voices of the guard dogs tell us it's not possible. So I was actually reading this morning, and I remembered that, so Roger Bannister, who was the first human who broke the 4-minute mile, actually passed away this weekend. And I was remembering the story of how that happened, and some of you may be familiar with this, but for ages, for thousands of years, it was thought that human beings could not run a mile faster than 4 minutes. It was the story that everyone told. The 4-minute was the limit of human possibility. And Roger Bannister in 1954, after having spent years deciding that was not going to be the story any longer, was able to break that record. And he not by much, 3 minutes, 59 seconds, 0.4. But what happened after that was also amazing, which is that in the next few years, 24 people continued to break that record and continued to be able to do it faster. And I love that image and I love that story because I think that the world is constantly telling us, you can't do it. You can't be free. You can't be loving. You can't be peaceful. You can't have that dream that you have in your life. It's just not possible. You can't run faster than a 4-minute mile because our human bodies just can't do it. And you have to be willing, though, to allow for a recognition that thought itself is limiting the possibility, and be willing to commit, even though the guard dogs are going to tell you you're crazy, to commit to that kind of freedom. Because when we commit to it for ourselves, we do something for everyone. Because we create a space that then 24 people after us, or whatever that story is, are able to break free as well. And that's the kind of commitment, right? We're not just doing this for ourselves. I love the Bodhisattvas, which is a Buddhist tradition, and the idea is that people come back and commit to being on this planet, not just for their own liberation, but for the liberation of all beings. And it expands this idea of what we're doing here. It's like my willingness to get free means that everyone gets free. And so what I also know is that there's an opportunity for us to really think new thoughts, to really allow those ideas that set us on fire to move through our lives, and to not get stuck with the guard dogs, and not get stuck in repetitive thinking of everything that's been before, and really open. So people often, though, ask me, how do I know? How do I know if it's a repetitive thought, or how do I know if it's really something that needs my attention? And I had a teacher years ago who used the analogy of the difference between ideas that go ping and ideas that go plop. And that experience, inside, when we think a new thought, there's this electricity, that ping. And we can cultivate a relationship to actually trying to allow that to happen more in our lives, instead of constantly being willing to plop. Constantly just thinking that's plopping is what we do. And really be willing to let the energy of our intention and our mind move to a different place. And all it takes is a willingness to allow for the new to come in, even if that means we're going to be uncomfortable. Even if that means that we're going to possibly need to turn to mush so that we can grow wings and something new can happen. But what I know about this is that there is something inside of us that already knows how to do this and is guiding us in the direction of this kind of freedom. But we have been hesitant and kept ourselves from it, and that there is something deeper calling us. So I have another story. This story is about a lion who had been caught by some hunters. And overnight he was caged and he lost his freedom, his wild life apart from others, and he felt like his power was gone. But to his surprise, he wasn't killed. In fact, he was taken into a concentration camp, a prison for lions. And he was surprised to see that not only was he in a concentration camp, he was put in with a bunch of other lions that had been, some of them, there for years. And most of them had settled into some sort of routine of camp life, accepting their confinement as fact and reacting in a number of ways. And he kept his distance and started to study how these lions were adapting to this place that they were. The first group he saw was interested in the past, what it was like to be a lion in the jungle. They tried to keep that experience alive for those who were born in captivity and had no experience of what life was really like for lions. They ritualized events, dances, songs, and initiation rites, trying to help others remember who they were. The next group, he noticed, were basically the organizers. They had been there long enough to realize that the possibilities of getting free were slim at best, so it was up for them to make the best of a bad situation. So they organized the camp into areas, making sure that everyone had what they needed and that the extras were shared evenly and that the newcomers were taught the lay of the land. The next group, they were the revolutionaries. They plotted and planned for a way to escape, trained and kept in shape. Periodically, a group made a rush for freedom, attacking the fence or the guards or trying to slip alone into the dark. These lions kept to themselves, away from the others in the camp. And the last group seemed to be the largest of all. They were hard to peg or figure out. They lived as though they had never known and counseled each other, set up programs of education, socialization, exercise, entertainment, and just ignored the fence and the guards. But this young lion noticed that there was this one particular lion that kept himself and wasn't part of any of these groups. This lion paced the fence back and forth incessantly, never deviating from the routine. He just kept moving. And the young lion decided to figure out what this guy was all about. And so he walked with him for a day or two and then tried to approach him, and he was swatted and clawed at and told to shut up. And so he picked himself up and wondered if he had done anything wrong, and watched and noticed that he was being treated with respect by everyone else, and they kept their distance. Even the guards were nervous and edgy around him and stayed out of his way, and he went on back on walking and pacing with him for another couple of days. And the young lion asked the older lion, "What do you think I'm doing? What are you doing?" And he answered, "Well, I am a lion. All the others have forgotten the one essential thing. This is a prison camp. I'm studying the nature of the fence. I am here to get free." So this story speaks so deeply to me of this necessity to keep our focus on what is real and essential, which is that freedom. And we can spend a lot of time organizing, and we can get a lot of time stuck in the story, and we can spend a lot of time doing all kinds of things that aren't actually going to serve us getting free. And the idea here is that the commitment to our freedom is the essential thing, that it is our birthright to be free, that it is the truth of who we are to be free. And anything that we are doing or putting our attention on that does not get us there, that is not in service to that, is too little. So as we commit to this, I just recognize that there's all kinds of things inside of us that are asking for us to break free from, and that we have inside of us this knowledge and this wisdom of exactly how to do that. In fact, we have been skirting around that kind of freedom our whole lives, pacing around it, and it's all already here. We just have to be willing to step into it more fully. So I'm going to ask the band to rejoin me because we're going to pray in a minute, but I want to finish with a quote by Patanjali, who is the person who who took all of the Yoga Sutras and put them into one place. And there's this beautiful blessing that was written, and it says this: "May your mind transcend limitations. May your consciousness expand in every direction. May you discover yourself to be a greater person by far than you ever dreamed yourself to be." So we're going to open to prayer right now. And if you were here last week, you'll know that we sang into prayer. So I'm going to do that again, which requires me to get my ability to change slides. So here we go. Here's the song.
Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, sets us free.
So our prayer of love today, individually and collectively, is this prayer of freedom. A prayer where we lift not only ourselves up, but we lift all of life up through our willingness to be committed to new thoughts. Thoughts that set us free from everything that has been before. Thoughts that are focused on the real and the essential. That power and that peace that is guiding us into a whole new way of being. A way of being on this planet where we operate from a sense of remembering that we are truly one. That we belong to one another. And so as we open ourselves to this prayer of love, we open ourselves to this opportunity we have to let go of anything that feels like it is standing in the way of our freedom. Letting go of any thoughts that are habitual, that just keep replaying in our lives, that we are willing to release right here and right now to the higher power inside of us that is ready for something new to happen. And as we allow ourselves to open, I just recognize that right there on the other side of the thing that we let go of is a new thought. A new thought that sets us free, the new thought that brings us joy, a new thought that sets us on fire for what is possible when no longer limited by what has been, and completely free to explore what is new. And I know that it is all possible right here and right now. That new thoughts are right here. That freedom is right here. That everything it is that we could ever wish for ourselves or for this planet is right here. Right now. And so we pray it into being through our willingness to be courageous. To be the peace and the love and the wisdom that we are. And we just allow it to continue to expand in us in every direction. We know that it is the truth. We let go into it. And we let it be. And so it is.
Once again, Glenn Coster. Glenn Coster.
This next tune that we're going to do for you, this is dedicated to my cat, Ella. And she lives a life like most cats, where she spends about 98% of her day sleeping and 2% of her day punctuating it with totally freaking out. It's a little bit kind of like life. And so this is a tune. This is also on the CD that I released recently. And speaking of tables, there will be a table out in the lobby still. I was just out there a minute ago, and it's there with some CDs, and I'd be happy to say hello to you after the concert. So this is Ella, and if you are a native New Mexican, it's Ella.
Thank you. That's Glenn Custer. Nicely done, sir.
Thank you, Ella, for that inspiration. There's some new thoughts going on there. So now we're moving into the sharing of our offering. So invite you to take whatever you brought to share with the community today and hold it over your heart. If you need an envelope or a pen, please let us know. We have those available if you indicate in some way. Great. So I just invite you to take whatever it is that you're offering today and put forth an intention in it, whatever that may be for you today. Maybe there is an intention for freedom, for peace, or for love, or breaking free from some limitation that is operating in your life. Just feeling what it feels like right here and right now to know that you can let it go. That you are blessed by a community of people who are in support of that letting go, and that letting go happens with an ease and a grace through a willingness to empower it with your prayer and your intention. Just feeling that blessing. I'm going to open even more deeply into this and allow this experience of giving and receiving to be one that lifts not only those participating in it up, but lifts this entire world. We are lifting the world up through our blessing. Let us sing together.
Birds flying high, well, you know how I feel. Sun up in the sky, you know how I feel. Breezes drifting by, well, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. I'm feeling good. Fish in the sea, well, you know how I feel. River running free, and you know how I feel. Blossom on a tree, well, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. I'm feeling dragonfly out in the sun, well, you know what I mean. Butterflies are having fun, and you know what I mean. Sleep in peace when day is done, and that is what I mean. This old world is a new world and a bold world for me. Stars when to shine, well, you know how I feel. Scent of the pine, well, you know how I feel. Freedom is mine, and I know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good.
And so collectively, we bless that which has been given and that which is being received. We bless the giver and the receiver. And we allow this love to expand, this freedom to expand, this joy to expand. It is who we are. Blessed be. Thank you. I need bigger hands or different baskets. We'll see. So I just have a few announcements this week to get us ready for March. One of them is to put it on your radar that next Sunday we will be springing forward. It is already that time. So yeah, everyone's like, thank you for telling. What? Wait, what? Yep, next week, March 11th, springing forward. So set your clocks forward or else you will miss us. And then the other piece of information is that out at the info table, we are collecting these things called Connect cards. And it's an opportunity to not only give us your contact information, you can make prayer requests here without giving us your contact information if you wish. And then on the back, there's an opportunity to sign up for one of our teams, our volunteer teams, or to get more information about some of the different projects that we're doing, volunteering out in the larger community. So I also want to thank those of you who came and volunteered yesterday at Roadrunner Food Bank. I can't remember how many pounds of produce we went through, but it was quite spectacular. And then we switched because we got done so quickly. There was so much energy and love. We got to sort the breads, and just the feeling of knowing that we're participating in helping create the world we really want to live in, which is one in which people are fed, where no one is hungry, was just so sweet. And it was so great to share that with you. So we'll be doing that once a month. We're cooking for Community of Hope, which is also a beautiful program that feeds the hungry and the homeless here in Albuquerque. And we're looking for other things to participate in. So if you have an idea, that this is also a great place for you to let me know about that, and so I can follow up with you, and we can put the love and energy that is this community in action, one in action. Thank you for being here today. I believe that is all I have to say, but I am honored that you are here, and I am so thrilled that I did not bawl. Last Sunday, I was a mess, y'all. Wow, it took me days to recover, but thank you for all of the love, and let that love keep on expanding. See you next week, if not sooner. We have our closing song right here.
One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. One love, one heart. Let's give thanks to the Lord and we can feel alright. People get ready, there's a train coming. You don't need no baggage, you just get on board. All you need is faith, hear that diesel humming. You don't need no tickets, you just thank the Lord. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. One love, one heart. Let's give thanks to the Lord and we can feel alright. People get ready for the train to Jordan, picking up passengers from coast to coast. Faith is the key, open the doors and boredom. There's room for all that love. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. One love, one heart. Let's give thanks to the Lord and we can feel alright. Let's give thanks to the Lord and we can feel alright.
collaboration between Sid and myself, we have created a short benediction song for us. We're writing 10-second songs together. So we're going to learn it. He's going to sing it to us. These are the words.
And the band's going to learn it. Everyone's going to learn it.
Right now.
I'm going to play it once, and I'll sing once, and then we can all sing it once. And then we're done, right? It's a benediction, so it's like the end of the whole thing. Go forth and walk in beauty, and know that we are one. Go forth and walk in beauty, and know that we are one. Go forth and walk in